Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. I'm sorry for the ornament videos that are probably going to trickle into maybe even the new year. Anyway, I want to make a set of coasters today, and thanks to Lisa Marvin for the color palette idea. This is a little different than what she did, but I needed to use some orange that I've had mixed up for a long time. And I'll try to link the video in the description box if I remember of the video I'm talking about. But she did a set that was kind of sunsetty, and I was like, that's a great way to use up some orange, and I need to use it. I've used, so this may not be the only time you see orange, but I've had this Orange Crush Prism Pour color mixed up for who knows how long. It's a gorgeous color, but I just don't use orange a whole ton. And so I thought, well, why not? I need to restock some coasters anyway. So I'm probably going to use that for sure. I may or may not use Pyrrole Orange from Colourarte in there too. I will probably, obviously I'm using a little bit different colors. I'll probably use Indian Spice. I may or may not use Lobster Claw from Colourarte. This is a Prism Pour color. This is where mine would go a little bit off the rails. I may or may not add a little Ember Fire from Colourarte. It's a gorgeous color. This is Rouge Violet, which is like a red violet from Colourarte. It is an intense color. And then this is Diox Purple. It's probably a mix of Atelier and Colourarte and whatever else. I had some mixed up. This was Atelier in here before, but as other things get low, I consolidate. It's a little thick. Then I'm going to use a white Cell Activator, which I just realized is not over here, so let me go get that. And yeah, I hope it goes well. I'm going to try to blow them with my mouth instead of my little blower, and I'm not really very experienced with blowing coasters out with my mouth, so I hope it goes well. Let me zoom you in a little bit and get my Cell Activator. I don't know why, but I'm a little nervous. Okay, woo. Okay. So, I totally agree that coasters are a pain in the butt to finish. They're so much fun to paint, but they're a ton of prep work, considering the fact that you probably spend more time finishing coasters than you do a painting. They're a pain. So I tape the bottom with painter's tape. You don't have to do that, but you will have drips, so it is easier to heat up your tape and pull it off than to sand down your drips. So I can see those questions a lot in some Facebook groups. You don't have to prime your coasters because obviously your pillow paint has pretty decent coverage, so you don't have to like gesso them or anything. But coasters are so much fun because they are like tiny little pieces of art, but they can be a pain because they're a lot of work to finish, and you know, everybody always expects them to be nothing because the tiles themselves are inexpensive, which is true. So they're good to practice on, especially if you're learning the bloom technique. It's much harder to go bigger than it is to do tiles, but finishing them is quite a chore. So, but they're like a little labor of love, you know what I mean? Okay, so we're gonna put down the Indian Spice. I feel like I'm using too many colors for a coaster, but when has that ever stopped me before? I don't feel like we need the Pyrrole Orange if we're doing the Orange Crush, so I'm gonna put it over there. I feel like it's just gonna make things complicated. Okay, now the Orange Crush, which is a little bit thick, but I think it's okay. This Orange Crush, I don't remember which Prism Pour set it's from, but it's got some of the most vibrant colors in it. Let's do, I think I'm gonna do a little bit of the Ember Fire. I'm afraid to do it too close to the top because I just thinned it down a little bit. So I think I'm gonna put it here so that it won't be too thin for the top. Then we're gonna do the Rouge Violet, which is probably one of my favoriteest colors ever. And a little bit of the Lobster Claw. I don't want to go too heavy-handed with this. Just a little bit. I guess I kind of went heavy-handed, huh? And then the Diox Purple. Gotta be careful not to overdo it with Diox Purple. It takes over. So
A little can go a long way. We do want a fair amount in the center because we're using a white cell activator, and I want it to have a nice drastic background. All right, I'm a little nervous about this, but you know, get over it, right? What makes me nervous on a tile is how small the target is. So except for the corner, that was a lot easier than I expected. And that corner was my fault. I did use a little bit too much Cell Activator, but that's okay. We'll see what develops. Big thank you to Lisa for always giving me color palette inspiration. I have frequently taken color palettes and tried them after seeing something she did. Now, if she could just come blow it out for me, imagine how great life would be. But that's beautiful.
So let's just let it develop a little bit, making sure you can still see.
And blowing that out was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I am concerned that we still have too much Cell Activator, so let's go ahead and spin because I don't want it to start creeping around. It's probably going to be okay, but if you guys saw one of my blooms, actually two of them, a couple videos ago, I was telling you I thought that my Cell Activator was too thin, and I kept adjusting it. It is trying to travel into the paint, but I think the issue at that time was actually a gold that I kept adjusting, and I kept thinning out, and I think when I thinned it out too much. So I don't think the Cell Activator was the culprit, but a thicker Cell Activator, if it blows out, you always get nicer cells. I mean, you get nice tight little cells. They don't melt, but you just have to be able to blow it out, you know? But this orange crush is beautiful over that gold. The gold kind of peeks through in the background. Looks really great. So let me show you guys this one. I might have blown through my color a little bit too much. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I think it works. I mean, it's really pretty. It's definitely more orange than I was hoping for, but very pretty. So let's do the next one. We'll not fuss over this one too much. One of the reasons I decided to not use the Pyrolyte orange is because I just thinned it out, so it's going to have a bunch of unnecessary bubbles, you know. And so I thought, well, just for extra orange saturation, we didn't seem to be lacking in the orange with that one, right? So I don't think that was necessary. So, but I do need to use up some of these oranges and not let things get crazy by just sitting in my drawer. I'm using up some of our paint for the corners, right? Why not? There we go. It's like playing in the mud. Anyway, I think that'll be really pretty. The other thing is, because blue is a complementary color to orange, I thought it would be fun to do something kind of similar and swap out blue for the Diox. So like where we had the Diox, we might do blue instead. I have done a really pretty set using kind of a peachy orange with a wine color and blue, and they were gorgeous. I think they had a black Cell Activator, but they had a little white in the color palette. They were rich and beautiful, and I really loved the way they turned out. So I mean, I do love things with orange in it. I just for some reason don't do a lot of orange. You know what I mean? So we're gonna do a little bit. The Ember Fire didn't show up a ton where I placed it, but I think when we resin it, you'll be like, there it is. But again, like, because I just thinned it down, I don't want to stick it out. I think I'm gun shy after that experience with the one bloom where the gold was too thin, and it made I had a beautiful bloom totally melt, and the center slid this way and got all scrunchy because of that color being too thin, and I was like, grr, you know, really made me mad. This Rouge Violet is something else. So I didn't have as much of that as I would have liked to come through that blow the last time, and I think it's because I blew too hard. But hopefully more will come through this time. Then the Diox purple didn't take over, so obviously whatever we put down the first time was okay. And I like how it becomes a kind of a warmer purple with the colors underneath it. Because obviously Diox has a lot of blue violet. But because it's going over these warm colors, it impacts that color a little bit. I think I used too much that time. Oh well, here we are. And there's no reason my spinner should be uneven, but it does seem to be. It's too much Cell Activator, I think. Oh well, okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm having a serious blow problem this time. And I don't know if I can recover from this. We'll see. I don't think so, but we'll see. The rest of it's great, but this part, not so much. Ooh, I got dizzy. I don't think that I can salvage that. I may have to scrape this one. Ooh, I have so much paint on here. We'll see. We're gonna spin it because it's already on there. Like, there's so much I like, but I went right down into the pillow right there. And I don't think that it's going to be covered up by the rest of the tile. I have no popsicle stick out here. Sadness. Okay. I don't think I want to keep that like that. Probably should have just poured over it, but I didn't, so. All right. Take two. Okay. Indian spice. Probably had a little too much purple in there, but it was working. Orange crush. Oh, that orange crush is a little thick. Maybe that's where I'm having a little trouble. Ember fire. Ember fire is a pretty magical color. Okay. Australian red violet. I mean, Rouge violet, kind of the same. Rouge violet is Colourarte though, so not the same. But man, I'm gonna need a gallon of that. Wait, lobster claw. I don't think I put enough Rouge violet on there. Then Diox purple. There's a couple of colors in here that are a little thick. The orange and the Diox, I think. Okay. I blew down into the pillow again. But it's only right here, so I think I can live with that. Okay. There's definitely some white parts here. That's where I blew those corners too much, but it's still pretty, so let me not obsess. I don't know. I'm gonna let it live for now. I think I didn't use enough red violet that time. And you know, stuff like this works okay if you kind of intentionally make them all a little bit different. But if this is like the only half naked one, that might be a little challenging. You guys have to let me know what you think about this one. But composition wise, it's really pretty. It's just, we lost a lot of our color because of the way I blew it out. So, let me show it to you.
I think it's pretty though. Okay, let's do another one. Oh, this is a long video. Okay, so you guys may want to kill me, but that was the first coaster that we did. And when I went to put that second one next to it, I noticed the cells were melting as it dried. And I was so mad. So I grabbed it. I made a new Cell Activator. I don't know if it's actually the Cell Activator, but I went ahead and made a new one because I had mixed the newer one I made with an old one, and I don't know if my consistency was off. However, I think my house paint might be the issue, but anyway, I made a new one and I just had to go again. So this is the first one we're going again, and before the end of this video you'll probably see that I take the one that I just put away and I decide to pour over it because I finally start to see the results that I'm looking for. Sometimes if you haven't bloomed for a minute, this one is kind of crazy too. Sometimes if you haven't bloomed for a minute, it's like you finally get your mojo, like on the fourth coaster, and then you're like, okay, now I want all of them to look like that. So I was glad I redid this one. I do think it's leaps and bounds better because the cells were melting in the middle. They were getting all squiggly, and then the lacing on the outside of the edge was like getting really squiggly, and it was almost like it was uneven and it was sliding off. But there wasn't a lot of paint sliding off on one side. But anyway, I redid it. I did what I did, you know. So here's the next one. I think I ended up redoing 2 that I had set aside and 1 real time with you guys, I think. So I probably did this a total of 7 times just to get 4 coasters. So you can see why coasters, although very beautiful, are kind of a pain sometimes because they are little pieces of art. So you can't entirely just count on pouring them real quick and being one and done, because that's just not how it works. So I did speed this up because, I mean, how exciting can it be when it takes forever? But I will say for me, because I've never really blown my coasters out, I've always used the little dryer. For me, this was kind of a good activity in practicing the blow because you're doing it consistently, not just once, you know, 3 or 4 times, and well, 7 times in this video. This one, I messed up the blow. I kept it anyway, but this coaster did kind of move a little bit too as it dried. I let it live, but I was like, what is the deal today, you know? So you can see the composition's kind of all over the place because I was chasing the Cell Activator around after I made a mess of it. But anyway, I hope that you like this color palette. I think I'll probably on a future video do some where I do like a spin swipe or something while I still have orange to use. I did finish my, there's a close up for you. I did finish my Indian Spice, which has been mixed up a super long time, so I was happy to get to use up some older paint. And because I kept scraping, I did try to save what I scraped off for those of you who are concerned about wasting things. I don't like to waste things either. And I put it in a container so I could, you know, like have a kind of a dump cup for the pillow. I may have to thin it with some Floetrol, obviously, to make it usable, but we'll see how it works. It might be good for coasters. I don't know that I would trust it on a larger piece, but it might be good for coasters and stuff like that, experimental things. So obviously I use way too much paint on a coaster. It's something I'm working on. But I think this one I had some challenges blowing out too, especially because I spilled the Cell Activator. But one of them I thought was going to be a totally bogus blow, and it actually turns out to be really nice. I don't know if it was this one or not. As you can see, like my paint was thick, so I was having trouble getting good coverage as I blew it out. This is actually not too bad. But I do love the color palette. I really, really do. I'm grateful for the inspiration. I think the colors are really beautiful together. So while I had them all out, I was just going to go ahead and do some coasters with the spin swipe, but then I realized I was running out of time. All right, and last but not least, this is where I actually pour over the second one, because all of the other ones were dark, and not dark, but the darker colors were more pronounced, and so now all of a sudden I was like faced with the issue of, do I leave it as it is, or do I let it just be lighter compared to its friends, or do I go ahead and pour over it? So while it was still wet, I just poured over it, and I was really glad I did. But it was risky because I only had enough gold for this one. So if I hadn't not had a successful pour, I would have had to use a different gold or mix up more gold, which I wasn't inclined to mix up any other paint, because the objective is to try to get rid of stuff. So sorry if you can hear our vacuum cleaner. I am multitasking right now. I'm doing laundry, doing this voiceover, talking to you, and running the vacuum cleaner. And now our doorbell rang, so you probably heard the dogs. Sorry about that. It is a busy day. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this color palette. I really like it, so you might see it again in some variation. But thanks for hanging out with me while I played around with some coasters. Have a good day. Bye.